Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Next Level Change Success. My name is Therese and I'm the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. I'd like to acknowledge that I am recording on Tharawal country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording today, and to elders both past, present and emerging. So today we're talking about the grey of change. It isn't a black and white discipline, and I don't think there are any black and white disciplines as such in any organisation. What I mean by that, when I mention about black and white, it's that really clear distinction, a real A to B to C to D through to Z path that you follow. And the truth of it is that frameworks will help you to have a focus point for sure as you go through change, to be able to rely on the process sometimes to help push to clarity. But the reality is you're managing the grey areas all of the time around your role, other roles, and a lot of this has to do with how you get traction and how you build trust, or how you aren't. So if you're finding that you're not getting traction with your change approach, with change management, then in a project environment I'm talking about, then you really do need to be taking a step back and understanding that change is all about the grey area. So what you're going to be finding if your change isn't working, it could be for a number of reasons. Potentially the business that you're dealing with or the people that you're dealing with may not understand your role. Even a project manager, if they bring on a change manager at times, they don't understand the role. They know they want a change manager to do communications, to sort out all of the soft stuff that they might consider sits within the change landscape. They may not know how you work with them. We talk a lot about this in the Changing Project Environment course that we've put together at My Virtual Change Manager, because it's important around how you're approaching and navigating this weaving in of change into projects and ensure there's a bit of a shared understanding. Now, you don't need to spend a huge amount of time doing that, but the reality is even simply having the conversation about what the expectations are of your role versus this is what I'm here to do, they're two different conversations. And I always encourage you to have an ask conversation first, to have a sense of curiosity with the project manager, with the business analysts, and ensure that you are getting feedback around that expectation, and even with the GM sponsors. The second reason why you may be hitting a grey area and not really getting traction with your change approach is that the business has very low maturity, and you might be heading into having really mature conversations and the business may not even understand what you're asking for. Sometimes that can be exactly the case. The first thing I always consider is, does the person understand what I'm asking for? Are they able to provide the information I'm asking for, or do I have to go and find it myself? And sometimes it is the third pathway that I'm having to go and find it myself and then play it back to those subject matter experts or to the business areas so that they can confirm if I've got my lens from a change perspective clear, if I'm understanding the information correctly, and also then to help them fill in the gaps by showing them what I've got. They're the type of conversations you need to have if, once again, you're in a grey space, you're needing to get clarity, you're needing to complete and understand the current impacts and run your impact assessment. So part of it is definitely ensuring, if the business doesn't know exactly what you're asking for, that you're taking the time to gather the information you need and then essentially work with them in a playback way so that they can validate or clarify for you any assumptions you might have made as part of the change journey. The third reason why your change approach may not be gelling is it could be you're not listening enough. A lot of time we have this real bias to action and thinking about it through the lens of, well, this is what I need. And what I encourage you to do is listen regarding what the business needs from you. How can you help them versus what you need from them? Once again, two different approaches. And the effective one is to have the discussion with them around, from a change perspective, are there any pain points or challenges or areas that you should know about regarding change? What do they believe can work and what do they believe can't work and why? Sometimes part of implementing a change and trying things is to see if you can improve the traction. And after a while, if you've jumped to different roles or different organizations, sometimes in some organizations there will be naysayers. There'll be people who will say that won't work when you're looking to introduce a change approach. However, it shouldn't stop you from trying it and working with those who may be detractors around, first of all, asking what would be a better way, and then also seeing if you can blend your approach. So once again, it doesn't have to be a black and white, my way is the right way. Part of it is, look, these are things that have worked in the past in different places, and melding that with what works well in this organization. Knowing that, and I always talk about this, that success is always a matter of degrees of success versus this was successful or this wasn't. You learn every time you implement, you learn every time you try something, and it's important to take a bit of a scientific approach to it, have some hypotheses about what will work, what won't, try it, validate it, celebrate the successes, change those where they haven't performed as well as they could. And by explicitly calling that out to your stakeholders as well around the approach and how you got to that in your change plan, it helps them understand that you've taken on their feedback. It's a co-designed plan in a lot of ways with the business, which will always be more successful. And then you can test and validate the approach as you go and engage with all of the stakeholders who might be impacted as part of your change. And that you're always uplifting, improving throughout that whole process. So then again, that whole concept of allowing the whole change space to be grey so that you can constantly have a play with certain things and be provided with a bit of leeway to do that. If you're approaching around asking and listening to stakeholders, then you often get the green light from them around trying new things because you've built the trust, because you're listening. And so I always come back to, is there anything that you can shift in your approach to better build that trust, which will help you move through the grey areas faster? So there's a couple of things to think about if you're finding that you're floundering a little bit in your change engagement, that you're not building the trust that you would like, or that you're finding there's a lot of objections, or you might be finding that stakeholders are avoiding meeting with you or deprioritizing the meetings. Think about the different ways that you can approach your change, translate your approach to business language. Sometimes language can be the barrier if you're using too many technical terms and really getting caught up in that and being a stickler for those terms. There are definitely times in organizations where I've blended my language to impact assessment being more, I want to understand the current state and the ways of working so that we can make sure that we're addressing everything that we need to, so everyone's supported to be able to adopt the change. So definitely using, I would think, more simple terms and terms that the business can understand is really, really critical to this. Also, part of being able to live in the grey is something around for yourself, around how comfortable you are sitting in uncertainty and sitting in a lack of clarity, sitting in a space where maybe you're not able to have the level of buy-in that you would ideally like, or ownership being displayed by certain stakeholders, or accountability being really displayed by stakeholders. At times I have put my hand up, taken a bit of a hit around certain issues that might have arisen, really just to make sure that I can build trust and show that I'm supporting the team. There are times when, through absence of calling out other accountabilities in certain forums, some people may question afterwards why I didn't say anything. But the reality is I don't like the method of piling on someone if they've already made a mistake. And if a question's being asked around why I might have sent a list, for example, sent some comms out to a list which was provided to me, and if that list was incorrect, I'll just say, look, I got the list, I sent the comms, it was obviously issues, I need to review whether that list was the appropriate one or the right one, and look at the source of that. And taking accountability on my space, not calling out that it was someone else's fault, is, I think, just in your nature of a good change person, and that approach helps build trust. People appreciate the empathy. I'm certainly, through all the experience I've had, that's always been the approach. I'll take accountability first, and I'm okay with that. It's never been dire in any project or program that I've worked in or supported. So therefore, I guess honesty has always been the best policy. And I think even if you're a people leader, you would appreciate that someone puts their hand up and says, I've stuffed up here. And I certainly, as a people leader, have felt so endeared to team members who do that, and also reassure them that I've got their back. So I'm not into covering up things, hiding things. A lot of it is very much just around accountability, and we all learn, and reassuring that I won't do that again, and ensuring that doesn't happen again. So certainly your accountability, but know that you don't want to push people or pile onto people as you go through this change process and as you have lessons and learning, because some people love the limelight and then they sweep all of the errors underneath the carpet, and that definitely does erode trust. And you will need trust as you go through all of these grey areas, and you need to be okay and in the discomfort of not knowing or not being able to do everything that you want to do through a change process. And if you can understand and unpack for yourself when you're feeling frustrated, or if you're trying to hold the standards of your change process so high that no one can meet that bar, all it's going to do is be to the detriment of everyone around you and to the project ultimately as well, and then erode the change capacity, and you will be stifled every step of the way if you don't start to flex in that grey space. Meet the demand and the requirement of the business, and then build from there, versus once again having this is the Lamborghini of change plans, is actually say, no, what we're going to do when the business is just asking for a VW Beetle, is start with a VW and then upgrade as you go. And that enables you once again to flex and build trust. People will see that if you're delivering over time, they trust you more and they give you more opportunity. So it is important to acknowledge that way of working, and that typically is how you get more support and garner more support for any further changes you do over time. Deliver first to the business demand and then build from there. So there's a few things for you to reflect upon, consider. There is a lot of grey area when it comes to change. that is the beauty of it, and you need to flex within that regardless of how many projects you've got under your belt. A lot of it has to do with the time of your life, the experience that you've got, the organization that you've gone into. And the challenge always comes up from a personal perspective around how much you can flex and align and enjoy the challenge in building that trust from a change perspective. It's why we talk a lot about change intelligence when we go through our framework, because it's not just knowing what the different templates are or the part of the process. It's actually about your journey for yourself and how well you can apply what you know, but also support others that you work with, but also grow as a person, because that's the opportunity that this discipline has when you're working on change, especially in a project or program environment. I hope you've enjoyed this quick episode. I hope it has given you some reflection points and that you can put just a few little actions or a few little ways of working, tweak those. If you're currently working on some change in a project or program environment, just so that you get a bit of an easier path of it. And it doesn't even matter if you're a change manager in this or you're a project manager in this, or even if you're a change leader, the principles are the same. Think about how you navigate the grey, the discomfort, and how well you can apply some of these different tactics to grow as an individual and get better outcomes at the end of the day and a better experience as you go through this change process. Come to myvirtualchangemanager.com, sign up for our newsletter. We always have a lot going on. We will keep you up to date as to progress around different courses that are going to be landing this year, the different tools, templates, and resources that we have available to help you to upskill in this change journey, and even more importantly, to develop your change intelligence as you go through and align your change approach to the people in your organization, but most importantly to you and your purpose in life. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day.